this is a guide on
You guys so
Nokhud
fast.
offensive, mostly for tank
Pure
perspective.
skill.
So mostly be going over um, what I do as a tank and strategies around a thought process, things that even I could just do better. Um, yeah, it will not be going over. It'd be kind of skipping over like some of the basic mechanics. It's more so just how to deal with them. So, anyways, get started.
Are you guys so fast?
So, this is tyrannical. It's a lot easier to double pull this patrol with this pack here. Um, apparently, you can't see my mouse. So, now you can see my
So
mouse.
fast.
This patrol with this pack here.
Pure skill.
So, when you do this, don't do what I did. This was out of habit. Um, wait for the patrol to get closer to this pack. Kind of upset my Shadow Breeze by doing this. Um, but you know, I'm a DK. I have a bomb limb, so everything just kind of gets gripped anyways. So you want to have two kicks, two melee kicks. You want to have stops for the rallies. There are going to be two of them. And they're going to be two birds, two war spears. Now we didn't know this at the time, but if you have a Joker in the group, you can actually sit on top of this pillar. You can actually get your other ranged DPS on there too. That way you can completely ignore the war spears and just use your stops on the rallies and the hunt prey casts. The birds will still follow them, so be aware of that. Now, since we are doing this normally, as a DK, you can actually just grip all of swift stabs from at least one of them. It reduces the damage a lot, especially on fortified. It's more important, but it's still good to do on Tyran.
You didn't know that?
And then I guess the sort of last thing I want to talk about, like in terms of handling mechanics, is as Hank, you wanna really try your best to just point these lance masters away from your group. If you have to turn around, just kind of either do it slowly or let your team know. Um, and also, don't have your mic muted so that you can actually use comms here, which is something that I may or may not have done. Skipping ahead here. So ideally, you would do the first solo pack, and then do this solo pack. Again, assuming that you're not doing the pull strat, because there are two war spears in here. You want to lock down at least just one of them. And then we're gonna do another double here. It's gonna be the same thing, two war spears. There's gonna be one bird and I think two rallies. So it's pretty much more of the same thing. You want to have you want to lock down at least one war spear. Have at least one person stop one of the rallies, or uh, I don't know what the timer's right here, so you have to rotate it, especially because there are two of them, right? I think that's about it for this pack. The boss is pretty simple. Once you get to around, it depends on if it's like Board of Tyran, but if it's like Tyran, maybe like 40-50%, you can just if you can mind control these or start CCing. It depends on your comp, right? Uh, mind control is a good way to do a lot earlier. Um, but with this comp, we have pretty much just blind with mind control. But I think we started mind controlling around like 50%. skip ahead here. These next pulls are something to talk about here.
I have first
So,
star.
one thing you can do, that there are a few ways to handle this, right? So, this big guy here, you can rotate 2 melee kicks on it. The Storm Speaker, you can rotate your kicks and stops. A rogue can get most of them, and so can a blood DK. So if you really want to, you can rotate, 2 melee kicks on here, and then have, range backup on either one of these. Just gotta call for it. As a DK, since you have 2 grips, they're pretty much two extra interrupts for this guy. And then you also have blind. Now, the
I'm reflecting.
the thing that you need to keep in mind for this is once this totem dies, you cannot do 2 melee kicks like you would at the start of the pull.
You get next circle.
And then also when you're doing this, when you're rotating two melee kicks here,
I have star next.
you want to make sure you kick late. So notice how late we're kicking here. Now the totem's gonna die. He's no longer gonna cast Totemic Overload, which means he's gonna go straight into casting. Notice no one has kicks here. That's what you want the ranged backup kicks for. So it's pretty much the same thing for 3 out of the 4 totems. So we're rotating 2 kicks here. At the time, I was not using my grips to get the Storm Speaker, but we really should. And on Fortified in particular, you don't want to let the Summon Squall get off, because it actually just does damage to your group that you don't want. I've had people die to it before, so.
Okay. I reflect star.
Like 2 Storm Bolts went off. On Fortified, your DPS are just dead.
Weird, the totem was still up and not happening.
So, save your range backup kicks for when the totem dies, or at least one of them.
Maybe I kicked too early.
And then utilize your team's stops for the small ad. This pack is pretty much the same thing. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the Arc Blade here. It's the same thing on the waterfall pack that we just did, or 2 packs ago. Whenever you see Arcing Blade, you can just walk straight out. I think I do it on the next pack. I'll show it. So it's same thing, same kicks. And then here's the Arcing Blade. So it's especially in this case where like 2 of them go off at the same time. You kind of don't want to tank that, at least on Fortified.
Stabber's next.
So I'm still tanking it. I have defensives up.
Backup break.
You don't have to walk too far. I think I do. Yeah. So you can walk pretty much that far and you'll be safe. Like, see, none of those hit me. And the same thing here. If you can just chain it and then not take any damage from the Arcing Strike, right? You should be able to rotate 2 melee kicks. I don't know if I took short kick here or not. I did not. Yeah, you can just rotate 2 melee. Again, just kicking late. Make sure you purge the shields. On Fortified, not having purge is actually really bad because it means these shields are gonna murder your group. Let's see. Is there anything to talk about here? I usually just try and AMS the lightning strikes. Just means more space, more people can, or people can get more orbs, and you can get free runic power if you stand in one of the circles. I'm doing this on Tyrannical.
You can take
It's
any orbs.
perfectly fine. And then I usually AMZ the first storm because you never know when the healer is gonna have like little orbs or like less stacks than they would want, or they're like perfectly fine. I do it just for safety, and you can have it every other storm. So
I did disperse this.
it's not too bad. I think that's kind of it, really. That's another thing you can use AMS for. Like, you get Thundering and you just AMS a Lightning Strike, it makes it a whole lot easier for you to clear on someone that needs to. We'll skip ahead here because this is like a 4.5-minute boss.
I'm going for a taunt.
The main thing is you want to try and keep your stacks. The same thing goes for the entire group.
It shouldn't be next.
It can either be like a 4.5-minute fight or a 5.5-minute fight, depending on how good your group is with orbs and refreshing the stacks.
We were 30 seconds slow last time, but at the end.
Yeah. I think it was like 5:11 last time. That was a 4.5-minute fight.
Okay.
We can still do it though.
So the ghost areas. I pull these down just so we don't pull the
I don't know
the
why he
third pack onto this, the patrolling one. This pack is already kind of rough because you have, I think, 3 corruptors here, or maybe no, there's only 2. So what I do for all of these packs is I assign my 2 melee onto the volley, and then I kick the corruptors at my own discretion. So it's like, okay, I have nothing here. So ideally at this point I would be getting as many stops or kicks as I can.
That's mine, sorry.
So right here, kicking that. I'm about to get vamp up. You see I'm kind of running low on resources here, but I got vamp, so we're fine. That's sort of the general idea there. We'll skip ahead. Now as a DK, I have control undead. So I try and get this as quickly as I can. As soon as I grab it here, I'm going to pull onto another pack.
I'm gonna pull these down. Watch the wings.
This one is also a bit of a difficult pull. I mean, all these pulls can get kind of tricky just because of the amount of corruptors casting death bolts on you. And in this case, I also have a mystic. Something to note is that the control undead or your controlled mystic will take a lot of damage on these packs. Ideally, you would not let it die. You would actually just like kill it with something. Like you see, it's already at 19% HP. So what I do is I drop it and then just mind control the new one.
We get the birds whenever we can. We're gonna look for this guy in. We get the birds whenever we can. We're gonna look for them.
And so at this point, I'm looking to double pull again. Really what we could do is we can pull this pack with this one here. That wouldn't be too bad, but since we still have the bird pack, yeah, we're kind of just waiting for it. I'm looking for it.
Actually,
Trying to get aggro on those is also kind of a pain.
Okay.
So like, I mean, you'll see I've spent 2 globals on it with taunt as well. You really don't want those to melee or group. I've had that happen before. So if you do have to do that, make sure you have some sort of defensive up just so that you're mitigating damage as you're spending your non-rotational globals, pulling those. And then it's more of the same here. Just me kicking death bolts whenever I see fit. And then this gets a little awkward. Your Mystic doesn't go at full speed when you're flying. You have to land. You'll see it there. It's like speeding across, but it's only when I'm on the ground, right?
get this pack.
So again, here I'm looking for another double pull. There's one Swiftman that you can get. I think, yeah, this one goes off, but that's fine. That's something you can just purge. Then what you can do here is you can just grip the Mystic whenever it casts the Swiftwind, and then kick the Death Bolts. See, there's 2 Death Bolts that are completely synced up, and I did not do very good job at handling that. So this is a lot more manageable. There's only one casting at me at a time. Another thing that will help is letting the Necrotic Corruption go off, because it means they're not casting Death Bolts on you. It does, however, mean that your ranged DPS and melee DPS for that matter, are in danger of getting hit. A lot of ground effects that you have to watch out for. So since the pole is almost dying, or it is dying, we're sending our healer out to start the RP. And what we do is we pull Beast Caller in. It works as a sort of funnel. Except if you're running Whetstone. But you have to be careful for a few things. One is the Brutalize. 2 is a Heavy Slash. And you'll see it's right back to back. So you want to make sure you have something for that, right? And then the third thing is you have to make sure you kick the Desecrating Roar, whatever it's called. Now I save AMZ for pretty much whenever my rogue calls for it. I believe in this case it was the 3rd one. You can use it every 3rd. It's not quite up for every other. I think it's like 45 or 50 seconds for each Gale Wind. And I think that's really it. So you mainly just want to rotate like personals, externals. You'll also want to make sure to recontrol pet. Ideally not during Brutalize. This was actually really bad timing for me.
Your Mystic's free?
I see.
If anything, I really should have popped Vamp before that. I was just not paying attention to the combat timer.
sure if I die. I don't know if you need your TD or not, Breako.
This next one's AMD, so.
And yeah, so after, let's see. And then I guess another thing, just to point this out, Zephyr does not work on this boss, on the Gale Arrow, the targeted ability. You see we're all stacking here. And use AMZ. That was the third one, I believe. Fourth one, I think, is CDs or personals.
Really?
See what happened here. Oh, I just got one shot. Okay.
Barely. Alright, I'm good for the next one as well. That's just unlucky.
Before next.
All right. So yeah, that's pretty much the fight. You're just rotating defensives, etc. And then now we just get the rest of our trash. This one is
There's 2 pulls. There's this pull, one more pull, and then
two corruptors, 2 mystics. The mystics don't actually cast Swiftwind at the same time, I've noticed.
and then last boss.
You'll see on the combat timer or the cooldown ability timer. I mean, it disappears for some reason, but they're able to cast it, but they don't. I don't think I've ever seen them cast them at the same time either. This is pretty much more of the same, except you don't have to deal with the Death Bolt volleys. You're pretty much just kicking the Death Bolts, and your team can just help you with that. And then you can also just grip the Mystics in. Also, be careful of doing this. Aggro can potentially wipe the group here. So, like, yeah, the Death Speaker was aggroed on probably the healer, if I had to guess. And this is actually kind of a scary pull. The Beast Caller, I've had the Beast Caller pretty much one-shot me with Heavy Slash, plus, like, you know, the auto attack damage. I think I used blind on that Heavy Slash, and it just recast, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So if you do run out of cooldowns, really your best bet is to kite. That's really the only way to mitigate damage here. Because this is the only pack where you're not getting bolted. So you really only have to worry about the Mortal Strikes and the Heavy Slashes going off. And then, of course, the Swift Winds. You don't want to let that go off, but that's a lot easier to manage, right? Now we fly over here.
And sleet.
Another thing you can do is you can actually pull these yellow health mobs onto the boss. You really want to be careful with this though, because I have done it and I have gotten one shot before.
Give me a second, give me a second, give me a second.
Stab moon.
So as long as you're prepared for it, you can use the appropriate cooldowns for it. Just to live the rending strikes.
I have star.
Because on Tyrannical, you actually just need something in order to live it, right?
Yep.
And Emmy, you're on diamond. Just have focus to it now, because they're all gonna get.
Remember to.
Let's see.
Don't get hit by the dumpy.
something you can do as well is, and this kind of goes for any pull, is you can, or any tank buster kind of pull, is you can use Umbilicus Shield as a sort of defensive for it. Like you can use Vamp early and then Umbilicus cancel like the second hit or something, right? I don't know if I did it there. But so as a DK, I save A-bomb limb. I do use Whetstone here just for the single target. Timer is kinda close. But we have less than 40, so we're probably not gonna have it for ads. And you'll see there, I had a Umbilicus for that second hit. Actually still did a lot of damage too. And then another thing is you want to make sure as a melee DPS that you're not anywhere close to this stupid boss when he's stampeding.
It would be safer if we did that.
So it looks like we're gonna have Lust.
We can Lust ads. I think we can Lust.
Let's be safe. Yeah, let's just be safe.
We decided to Lust ads to be safe.
Yeah.
Because
Or if it just doesn't get gripped in.
realistically, this is like what will kill your group. Especially if you don't have stops. So I grip the two farthest ones and I use
The kicks, yeah.
that or A-bomb to group them. You want to make sure you're rotating stops and kicks.
Or if it just doesn't get
So
gripped in, just be watching it.
for this first set, aside from me gripping it, this is kicks first, I think.
The kicks, yeah.
And
Sleet's next.
And then once they're all synced up here, I try and get Sleet in. And then we're rotating stops here. We still had knock up as well. And probably knockback too. And if you see me losing aggro here, it's just the warrior spell reflecting the conductive spear or whatever it's called.
You good?
I think so. Confirmed.
You can also AMZ that if you feel like you need to. And what you can do as well is like you can like after the second conductive, you can immediately, or like even just during it, you can move into like position to drop these upheavals. It's the same thing every time.
This is gonna be spear again.
So we're trying to make use of as much space as we can. We're not really, well, okay, I guess we are using the rock still. It's not really necessary, especially when it's that far, right? Also, another thing to note is that you can't quite get AMS on every other conductive strike. So you need to rotate Vamp and AMS. And then, you know, we also have a warrior haunting it, which does actually help a lot because it means I don't have to use like rune tap or Lichborn or IBF. Also, notice that I mean, I held Whetstone longer than I should because but I'm waiting for Thundering to happen before I use my big 2-minute CDs. It kind of depends on what you're pulling. Like, how long is the pull? Am I only gonna get one A-bomb limb during this anyway, or one set of 2-minute CDs? So you want to plan out your cooldowns, and that the Thundering timer helps a lot. So like if you know, again, if I'm only gonna get one more, I might as well wait for Thundering, and then get that 30% damage buff, especially as like a blood DK, because all of our damage is basically from trinkets. So if you can optimize your trinket usage, that'll increase your DPS at least a little bit. And on Tyran, or really just bosses in general, just getting that 30% damage increase is going to make it go by faster. And yeah, that's Nokhud. A lot of double pulling on Tyrannical. I could do more dangerous pulls in the third boss area. We could probably cut down a single pull. So like after third boss, we would only do one pull instead of the two. That'd probably save like maybe a minute. Assuming that me and my team survive the amount of casters and ground effects. So yeah, that's it. Hope that helps.